I believe him. I believe him. I think we're doing very well with Russia. But right now they're bombing the hell out of Ukraine. And Ukraine, I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine. And they don't have the cards. They don't have the cards.
Welcome to Insight News, your source for breaking news and in-depth analysis. Today, we turn our attention to the ongoing war in Ukraine and recent comments from President Donald Trump. In a recent address, Trump outlined his perspective on the conflict and how he believes a resolution could be reached. Let's break down what he had to say and what it could mean for global diplomacy. Trump addressed the situation in Ukraine, emphasizing that Russia continues to intensify its military operations. While acknowledging the devastating toll, he suggested that a resolution may be closer than many expect. However, he also expressed concerns over Ukraine's approach to negotiations, implying that they need to be more proactive in seeking a settlement. "We're seeing thousands of casualties every week," Trump stated. "Ukraine needs to focus on getting to the table because this war could escalate further if it's not resolved soon." His remarks have sparked debate among political analysts.
Russia, if I may, President Putin is bombing Ukraine.
Yeah.
Do you still believe him when he tells you that he wants peace?
I believe him. I believe him. I think we're doing very well with Russia. But right now they're bombing the hell out of Ukraine. And Ukraine, I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine. And they don't have the cards. They don't have the cards. As you know, we're meeting in Saudi Arabia on sometime next week, early. And we're talking, I find that in terms of getting a final settlement, it may be easier dealing with Russia, which is surprising because they have all the cards. I mean, they're bombing the hell out of them right now. And I put a statement in, a very strong statement. Can't do that. Can't do that.
Mr. President,
We're trying to help them. And Ukraine has to get on the ball and get a job done. We got to stop. They're losing on average 2,000 soldiers a week. That's a lot of soldiers. Do you agree, Peter?
Trump suggested that, under his leadership, the war might have never started. He highlighted past diplomatic engagements with Russian President Vladimir Putin, asserting that his administration maintained a level of deterrence that prevented major conflicts. Trump also criticized the Biden administration's handling of the war, particularly in terms of financial support. He pointed out the disparity in contributions between the U.S. and European allies, questioning why the U.S. has shouldered the bulk of the financial burden. "We've committed over $350 billion, while Europe has put up around $100 billion, Trump noted. "That doesn't make sense. They should be matching our contributions, if not exceeding them." Trump's stance here is clear. He believes the U.S. is overcommitting financially while pushing for a peace deal. Putin is more open to negotiations than many believe, which contradicts the stance of many Western leaders.
Both parties want to settle. I think if I wasn't president, this war would have had no chance of settlement, zero chance. But I think we're going to get it settled and stopped. We got to stop. They're losing on average 2,000 soldiers a week. That's a lot of soldiers. Do you agree, Peter?
It's a lot of soldiers on both sides, I agree. Do you, Mr. President, think that Vladimir Putin is taking advantage of the U.S. pause right now on intelligence and military aid to Ukraine?
No, I actually think he's doing what anybody else would do. I think he wants to get it stopped and settled, and I think he's hitting them harder than he's been hitting them. And I think probably anybody in that position would be doing that right now. This war should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were president, but it did happen. So a lot of other things shouldn't have happened too. The line is the money. So we're in for $350 billion, and Europe is in for $100 billion. They should be in for the same or more than us.
During the address, Trump hinted at upcoming diplomatic meetings, including discussions in Saudi Arabia that could involve Russian and Ukrainian representatives. He suggested that these negotiations could bring the war closer to a resolution. "We have to know that Ukraine actually wants to settle," he remarked. "If they don't, we need to reassess our involvement." The president also took a moment to shift the conversation to domestic issues, linking international conflicts to broader concerns such as inflation, border security, and crime rates in the U.S. He argued that poor leadership in Washington has contributed to both international instability and economic challenges at home. "We shouldn't have inflation like this. We shouldn't have millions of people crossing our borders illegally. It's all connected," Trump said. With these statements, Trump is positioning himself as a leader capable of brokering peace while criticizing current policies on international aid and domestic security. His comments have ignited reactions from political leaders and experts worldwide, some agreeing with his pragmatic approach to negotiations, while others view his stance as overly accommodating toward Russia. As tensions remain high and the war continues, the question remains, is diplomacy the solution, or will the conflict persist indefinitely? What do you think about Trump's remarks? Do you believe his approach could lead to a peace deal? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on global affairs.